The last time a host nation won a World Cup was back in 1998, when France, led by no one less than Zinedine Zidane, won it, defeating Brazil in the final. Now in 2026, it is extremely unlikely that any of the host nations will win it. After all, the United States, Mexico, or Canada, none of them have a realistic shot at winning the World Cup. Let's be real, it's not going to happen. But could the United States, Mexico, or Canada pull a 2002 South Korea, where the host nation made it to the semifinals? If so, which of these three would pull it off? Or could they pull a 2010 South Africa or a 2022 Qatar? Host nations that got grouped while playing at home. If so, which of the three host nations in the 2026 World Cup is most likely to get knocked out in the group stage? Well, today we're going to talk about it. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the three host nations of the 2026 World Cup. So this is how it's going to go, okay? I simulated every single group besides the host nations to have the most likely scenario. I know the World Cup might not go that way, but we had the favorites finishing first, the second favorites in second, third, and fourth, okay, for each group. I'm going to go with Jack from Deadball TV, and we're going to go through Group A, B, and D, which is Mexico's group, Canada's group, and the United States group. We're going to go through different scenarios. We're going to qualify them in first, second, third. Look at the bracket. With that, we're going to try to determine which one of the three is most likely to lose the earliest, whether it is the group stage, round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinals, whatever. We're also going to try to determine which team has the easiest pathway, which means they're more likely to go the furthest. So sit back, relax, drop a like in the video if you want more videos like this with Jack from Deadball TV, and let us know in the comment section down below, even before you see all the scenarios that we're going to simulate. Let me know in the comment section. Out of the three host nations, Mexico, Canada, and the US, which one will get knocked out the earliest and when? Which one will go the furthest and when? Okay? Again, I'm not going to ask you to drop the like during the video, so do it right now. Let's throw the intro and bring in Jack. All right, you guys requested, and I have brought back. Sorry about that. It's early in the morning here. I have brought back everyone's favorite Jamaica hater, Jack from Deadball TV. Jack, how you doing?
Dude, you can't keep introducing me like that. I want to go to Jamaica one day.
You can still go to Jamaica.
No, my plane's going to get shot down if you keep introing me as the Jamaica hater. I have nothing but love and respect for Jamaica. I feel like I say this every time I come on the channel.
Yeah, it sucks for me as well because I got a really bad rep on X with Moroccans, and even on YouTube, and I want to visit Morocco, and I'm a little scared.
You and Pete are asking for it. Let's be honest here. Y'all love it.
No, I really want to. There's a lot of countries, even though there's a lot of countries I wouldn't care too much if they hate me, but I kind of want to visit Morocco, so we'll see about that. But look, I visited Mexico, and no one knows who I am there. No one knows who I am, so I'm fine. But today, we're actually going to talk about Mexico. We're going to talk about Canada. We're going to talk about the United States. So let me just explain to everyone what's going to happen in this episode. I went through with a simulator here, and I put on every single group the most likely scenario to happen, besides the group with the host nations. Okay, so every single group has already been taken care of in the simulator with the most likely scenario. Now, is the World Cup going to be the most likely scenario for every group? No. But for the purpose of this video, we kind of have to do that. Otherwise, we have to go through an infinite amount of different scenarios. The goal here is to look at if Mexico finishes first, second, or third, who would they play in the knockout rounds? And how far does it look like realistically that they can make it? Same thing for Canada, same thing for the US. And during the video, throughout the video, or towards the end of the video, we want to kind of determine which host nation has higher odds of going the furthest and how far, and which host nation has higher odds of crashing out early, whether it is a group stage exit, which is very tough in this World Cup because you can advance in third place and they're hosting, but it can happen, or just the first knockout round, which is round 32, round of 16. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, right? Jack?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not complicated at all.
Okay, so let's do it here. The first two groups, obviously Group A and Group B. Let's go through Group A first with South Korea, Mexico, South Africa, and then you have a UEFA qualifying team that hasn't made it yet. Which one is the most likely again? Because there are four for this one. For
Denmark and Ireland are the two most realistic.
so Denmark, let's go with Denmark.
Yeah, yeah, I would. Yeah, for the sake of simplicity, let's not run 5 different simulations with all the play-in teams.
Yeah,
We'll be here for 2 hours.
otherwise we'd also have to fix every single group for different scenarios,
Yeah,
which would be
exactly. We're gonna
nuts.
do this again for Canada, and this is no one's gonna enjoy this. So let's just say it's Denmark.
So let's go with the most realistic scenario possible. So let's try to simulate this group in the most realistic one. Mexico opens with South Africa. We've talked about this before, and I think we agreed that it just screams draw this first game.
I'm actually leaning win after the AFCON, based on what I saw from South Africa's defense. So I would go at 2-1 now. But if you want to keep it as a draw, I don't think that's a unrealistic prediction.
I didn't watch AFCON besides that freaking insane final. So I know South Africa crashed out much earlier than maybe we would have expected based on the cycle they've had. So I'm going to go with
Mhm.
what you said. You watch Mexico very closely. So do I. But you watch South Africa most recently, and we're closer to the World Cup. So most likely the version we're going to get from them is whatever you just saw. So I'll go with that. We'll go 2-1 Mexico then. That's already a
Yep,
little
let's
bit
go 2-1.
a little bit different from what we had in the prediction video. So right here, 2-1 Mexico. South Korea versus Denmark. I do not like South Korea this cycle. I think this team is we're seeing a worse. It started poorly with Jurgen Klinsmann already, right? And things didn't go well there. Got fired. I'm not seeing improvements with South Korea with the games that I've seen. Son is still an incredible player, but it's not prime Son anymore, and that's by far their best player ever. I think if Denmark plays South Korea in the first game, I think Denmark wins.
I think Korea gets points in this game, but actually, I would feel more comfortable if we went with a draw here. I do not think Denmark will beat them. I don't think any of the European teams will beat them. I think they play
Really?
well in this
Besides
match.
Brazil, right? They always suck against Brazil for some reason.
Yeah, whenever they play you guys, or at least half of you, it's always a 5-0. So
It
fortunately,
doesn't
there's
make
no
sense.
Brazil.
It doesn't
No.
make sense to me.
Yeah,
So I'll go with what you said, then I'll just go with the draw. I'm a good host, so I'm willing to go more
I
towards.
appreciate that.
This is also more of your group, Mexico, than mine. So I don't want to sound biased. I don't want anyone calling me biased against Mexico or something. So I'll just go more towards yours.
It's too late.
Denmark and South Africa. You talked about South Africa's bad defense. If they're going to play Denmark, a much more stable team, much more cohesive team, do you think South Africa pulls a result against Denmark?
Man, they're still, I think, the hardest team to call at the World Cup because offensively it was a good AFCON, but defensively it looked like if you generate a couple chances, you'll at least get one. I don't know. You want to go draw here or you want to go Denmark victory?
I would personally go draw because I don't think South Africa will go with no points in the first two games. I find it very unlikely. At
Yeah,
least a draw they'll pull off. And we went with Mexico winning. Also, Mexico host nation. I'll go with the draw.
let's do the draw.
Yeah. And like you said, their defense wasn't great. I'm assuming for the World Cup they'll adjust some of that. I would hope because if you saw that the defense is bad, I'm assuming they would. So we'll go with the draw. Mexico and South Korea. I think this will be a draw.
I'm comfortable with the draw as well.
Yeah, I
I think
think
it's
it'll
going to
be
be
a
a great
draw.
game.
Let's see what they simulated here as a draw. 0-0. I think it'll be better than 0-0. So let's just do it again. We'll put 1-1 for the sake of it. Mexico and Denmark. I actually think Mexico and Denmark would be another draw.
Oh, I agree, especially given this circumstance. I mean, we'd be
Pressure.
on 4 points. Elimination's basically impossible. No, it is impossible for Mexico at this point. I think we go conservative and just don't lose. Yeah.
Okay. And then South Africa versus South Korea. Would South Africa, if they have their defensive issues fixed by then, they're going to score goals against South Korea. Because South
Yeah,
Korea's
they will.
defense ain't that great either, or hasn't been, at
No.
least. Um, is this gonna
Man,
be
this
the
is one of the hardest games of the group stage to call. I want to see South Korea more in March, but for the sake of this, we can say South Africa beat them.
okay? And that means South Africa will finish in second here, despite their leaky defense. And this is what I find fascinating about this group. And we're going to talk more about this. I personally believe that Mexico has the highest odds of getting grouped out of all host nations.
Mm.
Just because this group, every game we went through here can go either way. I know the US is also similar, but I do think the US hasn't. The US should be able to beat Australia and Paraguay at home. I think they are easier opponents. These opponents here are very tricky. South Africa, South Korea, and Denmark, assuming it's Denmark, of course. The
Hmm.
US, we're going to have to assume Turkey. We're going to get there in a second. I think the Mexico group is probably the most balanced group in the World Cup. I think all these teams are at a very similar level, just different styles of play, different approaches. And like, look at it this way: if South Africa defeats Mexico in the opening game, which let's be honest, it could happen. I don't think that's like not a major
It
upset.
could happen
Mexico would be out.
in this
If they
simulation
and
if we updated it.
if Mexico tied this first game, they would be in third place. Third
I
or
think if you want to look probability wise, Mexico versus the three opponents, like what is the probability in each game that Mexico could lose? It's probably 30% in every single game.
yeah, at
If you
least
look at Canada, for example, is there a 30% chance Qatar beats Canada? No way.
no. I
And
think
that is
Canada.
why they're the least likely to get grouped. I think we're going to agree on that.
Yeah, because again, if you beat one opponent, for example, you get 3 points, you're very likely to finish in third place, worst case scenario. So
Yes.
essentially, Canada needs to pull one draw against, and let's talk about Canada. Let's go to Canada then. They
Let's
need
go
to
to
pull
Canada.
one draw against Italy or Switzerland. If they do that, they're through. Because we've ran the simulation before. If you get 4 points, you will advance. The odds of advance are like over 90%. So Canada needs to essentially beat Qatar, which at home, if they can't do that, just go out of the World Cup. Just you
Correct.
don't deserve to go through.
Withdraw from CONCACAF, I would say.
Hmm. And then Canada needs to get one draw, and they're through. Um,
Yes. As a
so
good defensive team. So is that unthinkable? Absolutely not. It's very
no,
realistic they get a draw.
exactly one. So let's go through
One.
their group. Like the first game would be like Canada versus Italy. And I think that's where they can pull a draw. I think against
100%.
Italy. It can be a 0-0 draw,
100%.
1-1. Canada can counterattack. They're pretty good at it, actually. So I'm just going to have them tying Italy in the first game. That's already the one of the results that they need, right, to get there. Switzerland and Qatar, to me, it's pretty straightforward. I would say Switzerland defeats Qatar. Should be even,
Yeah.
I'll even put a
I would
larger
even go
result.
we can go 3-1. In respect of the repeat Asian Cup champions, you know I love my Asian football. We can say 3-1.
Hmm. I also think Italy and Switzerland could very well end in a draw. So Italy opens the World Cup with 2 draws. Let's just put that for it doesn't matter too much
Okay.
for what we are trying to do this video, that might not matter too much.
Yeah.
So Switzerland, Italy tie. Canada defeats Qatar. I don't think they'll destroy Qatar, but they should be able to beat Qatar 2-0, something like that. We'll see what
2-0. Let's go 2-0.
yeah,
I don't think
2-0.
they concede.
And then last but not least, we have the last round. I think Switzerland defeats Canada and Italy defeats Qatar. And with those results, the group ends up looking like this. For some reason, this page is a little laggy, but here, Switzerland with 7, Italy with 5, Canada with 4 points and a +1 goal differential. We'll go through there for the third place teams, the table, but Canada with 4 points and a +1 goal differential, they will go through.
100%. Yeah.
And I think
I mean, look at them right now on the right hand of your screen. They're the second ranked third place team off
yeah,
that GD.
yeah, and I simulated every group right now besides the US one. So there's only one group, so they could get pushed down
Okay.
to third,
Valid.
right?
Valid.
So the overall point here is like Mexico has two teams. Sorry. Canada has two teams in their group that, in my opinion, would likely top Group A or fight for it. Italy and Switzerland. They would probably be the best team in Group A, or at least Switzerland would.
Yeah.
But they also have the weakest team out of all of them, Qatar. And it's one of those
Correct.
situations where the third place team, if there was no third place advancing, Canada was screwed because they would have to pull a result against Italy or Switzerland or draw both. But in
It would
this
become
scenario,
tougher.
what?
It would become significantly tougher. I still think that they would advance, but they would have to scrap, which they're good at that.
So even though we have Canada advancing in third place and Mexico in first in this scenario, do we agree that it's more likely if one is to get grouped, it's Mexico instead of Canada?
My argument against that is I think Mexico, firstly, have a manager with legitimate World Cup experience, which I think will help. And I think Canada has the weakest, or at least a weaker home field advantage than Mexico. I mean, Canada already lost recently against Australia in Canada, albeit it was a typical Aussie performance where they made 10 saves and somehow scored in the second half. But this is going to be uncharted territory for Jesse Marsh. Aguirre will be used to this environment. So that's kind of the defense of Mexico. Plus, we know that while history and resumes aren't everything, they are a factor. I don't think they're the biggest factor, but they are sprinkled in. That little doubt about Canada, like we've never won a game, like in the back of their heads whenever they go out there. Versus Mexico, who will feel like last times we hosted the World Cup, we made it out of the group. So I think the mental edge heavily favors Mexico over Canada
Now let me
to
play
get
devil's
grouped.
advocate there too. Mexico fans are also much more reactionary than Canadians, and if things are not going well the first game, they will turn on the team very quickly, and we've seen that, right? I don't think the support there is unconditional. If they're down 1-0 at halftime
Absolutely not.
against South Africa, I can see the Mexican fans booing the team going into the locker room. So it could go against
Yes.
them as well. It almost feels like Mexico could become one of the streaky teams where the fans either push them further into the tournament or just kind of crash them out with them.
Yes.
Canada's more neutral. We saw that in the Copa America, kind of played to their favor, right? Playing in neutral territory for Canada, which them hosting essentially is that. Um, it helped them out in the Copa America against some very hostile teams that are very tough to play against when you play away. Let's go through the U.S. group here very quickly because I have all the other ones done. And again, for anyone saying, "Oh, why is Brazil in first?" Guys, I just kind of put the other groups just for the sake of this video, the most likely scenarios. I know Brazil could finish second; they could even finish third, but most people would say that Brazil likely will top the group, especially after what I saw from Morocco in the Afcon. Okay, Group D with the United States, Australia, Paraguay, very likely Turkey. Could be another one, but let's go with Turkey and the
Mhm.
U.S. I think this is a weaker group than Mexico overall. I think the European nation Turkey is worse than Denmark. I think Australia and Paraguay, they're not bad teams, but they're worse than South Korea and South Africa, unless Australia has one of those games like you just mentioned where they make 20 saves, do nothing but score a goal and beat you. But again, it doesn't happen all the time. So the US opens up against Paraguay. That to me is the trickiest game for the US, where there's going to be a lot of pressure. First game can be a little bit nervous, the team. And Paraguay is a tough team to score on. Um, I think this first game will likely end 0-0. That's what I think. Do you have anything to say about
Mm.
that?
Oh, no, not about this game in particular. I think it's very close to call. My very quick thoughts in the United States is if you remember after the Korea game, the vibe was very bad around the USA. Three
Mhm.
games following after that, everybody's like Pochettino is Jesus resurrected. So I'm very curious what happens in March because if the USA gets beat up badly and the stock plummets yet again, because it's been pretty volatile under Poch, I would say, since he got appointed, then you start looking at Paraguay as the favorite in this match. That's just kind of my thoughts. Right now, I feel USA should feel like they can get a point, of course. Obviously, beat Paraguay recently in a friendly, which is a huge advantage that the USA has that Mexico and Canada don't have. Is recent repetitions, recent practice against two of their three opponents which is huge. Actually, all three if it's Turkey, right? All
Yeah.
three teams you would have
Yeah.
played. So that's another huge advantage. But USA might be the away side in some of these games. We don't need to talk about that. 0-0, 1-1. I'm cool with that for now.
Yeah, I think realistically it'll end in a draw the first game, or the US might squeak a very narrow win, maybe a little help from the ref. Who knows? Australia versus Turkey. I think if they play Turkey, I think Turkey finds a way to break that Australian low block. You have Yildiz, you have Arda Güler. They can pull it off. I think Turkey gets a win. Won't be easy. Australia is never easy in the World Cup. It shouldn't
No,
be.
it's
But I
not.
think Turkey would be able to pull a win here. Narrow win.
I'm gonna back the Aussies in this game. I think they beat whichever European team goes in. But if it's your channel, I think you gave me the last tiebreaker. So let's go with your thoughts on this one.
I'll
We'll
put
go 2-1.
2-1. I'll put
Yeah,
2-1.
we'll go 2-1.
Narrow win. Paraguay versus the European side. That one I actually back Paraguay for a narrow 1-0 win.
I do as well. This is an Alfaro special, I think.
He'll pull a 1-0 win, probably Gustavo Gomez off a set piece or something, and Paraguay defeats Turkey 1-0. And I think the US defeats Australia in the US. I think the US wins this. What do you think of that one?
Jeez. Sure, we can go with that.
What's your
I think
counter
Australia.
argument? I think it's like, what's your counter argument to it?
Australia defensively are very strong. That's my counter. I think in the game in which the USA won 2-1, there was a lot of rotation from Australia. And Americans will say, like, well, we had rolled on in the starting 11. Totally valid. I'm not saying it was a totally stacked USA team either. I don't think Pulisic was even playing. I think he got hurt for that game. But I think with guys like Harry Sutar, Serkati in the back, Jordan Boss, who did start that game, scored against the United States, I think that they can dig in and get a draw. I do. But again, I think we went with my tiebreakers in Group A. Let's go with yours. You got home field advantage now. This is
But
United States time.
But it feels like you're saying the US would be slight favorites against Australia.
They would be the favorites, yes.
Yeah.
It's more like Australia. They're like one of those national teams where, by virtue of their play style, they're in every game, but not necessarily the favorite. When you were talking about Group D overall, what is less scary about Group D than Group A for Mexico and Group B for Canada is Group D is like, if we're playing Pokemon, it's like a bunch of Pokemon that have a lot of hit points in Group D, but their attacks are kind of weak. Group A is the opposite, where there is not a defensive juggernaut, but everybody's using, I don't know, I can't remember a bunch of Pokemon attacks right now, Fireball or whatever, Razor Leaf, things like that, like high attack teams. Whereas Group D is going to be annoying, but you don't have to worry too much about the offensive talent of the other teams. Not saying they're not talented, but I don't think they stack up to the Swiss attack, the South Korean attack, the Danish attack, etc. Maybe outside of Turkey. That's kind of the odd duckling.
You should have
here.
told me you were going to go with Pokemon references. I got plenty. So Group D, Group D, which is the defensive team. That means the team will probably go with a Snorlax, a Chansey, teams that Pokemons you would use to stall the opponent.
Yes,
right. The Venusaur.
You're using
maybe.
Harden. You're not really attacking them.
Well, Group A, you're going with a freaking Dragonite, just going in attacking. You're going with possibly a Mega Charizard X or just something like that.
A Machoke or something. Yeah, karate chop and everything.
I never used Machoke or Machop or Machamp in a competitive Pokemon game.
You don't like fighting type? Okay, all right.
No, I just think there's Pokemons with better base stats than those. But look, let's not. We should start a Pokemon channel. But I get what you're saying. I think also in Group A, there's no game where Mexico is a clear favorite because I think the teams are good. While in the here, the US, let's be honest, against Australia, the US are the favorites. It can go either way for sure. Yes. And dude, even against Paraguay, the US would be a slight favorite, right? Paraguay winning would be an upset. A draw, perfectly normal. But if Paraguay wins, it'll be something, oh crap, I didn't expect that. Well, Mexico, like I said, I think if South Africa beats Mexico in the opener, it's not that much of a shock. South Korea, and Denmark. Right? Denmark, in my opinion, is better than every team in the U.S. group, including the U.S. Everyone. Denmark is better than every team. Right? Um, but
I'll
anyhow,
push back on your South Africa comment. I think off the back of the AFCON, it would be a shock. If they beat Mexico, it'd be a shock. Draw, it's literally Paraguay. It's like, okay, sure. Mildly disappointing. We live to fight another day. South Africa wins. I don't know. That's pretty. I'm trying to think with the Mexican public, what game would be acceptable to lose the most?
oh, Denmark probably because they only know the European nations.
Just because Europeans, yeah. I mean, to lose to
Yeah.
an Asian team is like blasphemy inside CONCACAF circles. So it's certainly not South Korea.
Now let's
And
go.
nobody knows anybody who plays for South Africa. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
there's that.
Denmark.
Even though they probably should have watched the Club World Cup. They had a South African team. It was pretty good. They didn't
Or the
get out of the group.
AFCON. I covered it on the channel. Should have hit subscribe,
Yep, they
but they
should have been
didn't.
watching it. Or
Should
they
have
can
been
still
watching
go
it.
watch it. They're still there, the
Yeah,
streams. Um,
they are there.
but going back here to finalize Group D, in the last game, the US will play Turkey and Paraguay will play Australia. Um, I think this might be a game where they all end with a draw. Because Paraguay and Australia were going to be, well, Paraguay is going to be very safe in their approach because they just need a draw to advance. And Australia is not known for being able to break a low block, especially a good defensive team like Paraguay. And Paraguay is not going to care about scoring. The US and Turkey might be a bit different because they both need a result, but at the same time, they both advance with a draw. So I can see them both being kind of careful with how they go about this game. They want to win so they can advance in first or second, but I can see the US and Turkey just like, hey, go at each other, but we got to be careful here because the draw does get us through. And ultimately, the goal is to advance.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay with the double draw.
I'll just go with the draw. I just think Paraguay and Australia will probably be 0-0, while the US and Turkey, I could see a few goals.
Yeah.
They also have better forwards, right? Like Turkey does have Arda Güler, Yildiz, players that can pull something off. So I don't know. The US and Turkey, maybe a good game, maybe 2-2, 1-1.
Yeah. One if they're going 70%, probably a 1-1.
1-1, yeah. 1-1. And then let's see I don't know why it's so laggy, this website today. It was so quick last time. So with that, we have the US topping the group on goals scored. We have Paraguay in second with 5 points, Turkey in third, and Australia in first. Again, I think the US has higher odds of getting grouped than Canada, but lower than Mexico. Because Canada, the reason I say that is I can easily see Australia pulling a draw. That changes the whole dynamic of the group, for example, or the US, like things like that. So just like we said about Canada, I think before we go to the bracket to see who can go the furthest, I would say the order of most likely to crash out in the group stage, even though I don't think any of them will, I would say it's Mexico most likely, US, and then Canada. And again, this is not a power ranking. This is simply due to who they play.
Correct. Yeah, this is not I literally have a series on the channel. You guys can check it out, ranking the most difficult groups per confederation. It's not a power ranking. If we say Mexico's the most likely to crash out, that does not mean Mexico is the worst of the three teams by default. You might
Exactly.
believe that as well, but that's not what the statement is. It's just circumstantially the group is tougher for Mexico because of the potential of being beaten 3 times that doesn't exist for Canada, and it doesn't exist for the United States to the same degree. I think that's what we're saying here.
Yep, because I hope they don't get that out of context. I do think Canada right now is the weakest of the three. The US is a bit of the enigma because it's like what you said. They're back, they're dead. They're back, they're dead. They could lose to Belgium and Portugal. It's like, we're dead. And then before the World Cup, they defeat Germany or Senegal. It's like, oh, we're back. We're back. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just the US has been back from the dead way too many times. Someone keeps finding the Dragon Balls, dude, every time we die.
Yeah.
And then we're back. Okay, so based on this scenario, which Canada finishes in third, which I think Canada finishing in third place is very likely. The US finishing in first is the question. They could finish first, second, or third. With the US finishing in first, we've ran the simulation so many times, and we've gotten many times USA versus Canada.
You know what I'm about to say here.
I know we already had this discussion. You think Canada goes through. I have to back the US. But if I'm trying not to be biased at all, I would say this is one of those games where it is 50-50. It's 50-50. I don't think there's a clear
Yes,
favorite, and either one could advance when they clash in the round of 16. Um, It'll be a very exciting game, probably one of the most interesting games of the round of 32 because of all the stories behind it. Jesse Marsh, US, Canada, even like some tensions when it comes to the American government, Canadian government. Um, we're kind of like almost like brother countries right by the border, same language for most of Canada. Some places they speak French there. But it's just a big game. One of the biggest games in CONCACAF World Cup history, probably up there with the 2002 USA Mexico.
correct.
So I think what we can do here is more look at the scenario of doesn't matter who advances, US or Canada. The next round, they would play Belgium, right? Very likely. If they face Belgium, do you give the US and Canada the same odds against Belgium? That's the question here.
My answer is yes. And I think if our group stage draw is accurate, whether you're Canadian or American, you will probably take this. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if you said, okay, we got to play Canada in the round of 32 and then the Belgians in the round of 16. This is a World Cup. It's supposed to be hard. This ain't the Gold Cup anymore. Would you not say, yeah, give me that pathway right now? I mean,
Belgium
that's a
is
manageable.
Belgium is the weakest team outside of the host nations in pot one, in my opinion.
Correct. And if they get upset, which is not impossible, you get the Saudis in a round of 16 game. Are you kidding me? I mean, in an expanded World Cup, I'm not sure if the United States is going to have an easier or Canada's going to have an easier path to the quarterfinal than this right here. As the host as well, not even an away World Cup in the desert of the Middle East, where the Saudis are the home team, or when it's in continental Europe. You have to accept this if you're either team. You
And
have to.
Jack,
What else do you want?
if it's not Saudi Arabia, it would be probably Uruguay that's in that same group. And let's be honest, they're not going through much of a good phase. Like they're not doing well. Like Uruguay in the round of 16 is also beatable.
Yes, 100%. I mean, they got grouped at the last edition of the tournament. They've been on a free fall since the Copa America. You don't need to think United States is the favorite against Uruguay or Canada's the favorite. Copa America third place rematch. That would be cool though. USA just smacked Uruguay or a variation of Uruguay 5-0. One of the most embarrassing losses I've ever seen. You have to take that. What more do you want? Like, do you want, I don't know, do you want Cape Verde here? Like, what other team do you need to see to get excited about this
We
potential
want
pathway?
Curacao and
This
Cape
is great.
Verde. Curacao and Cape Verde.
Curacao and Cape Verde. If Curacao made it to the round of 16, man, my goodness, that would be unbelievable.
But I agree with you entirely. And essentially what we're saying is this. First, Canada, very lucky because they can finish in third place. And if they finish in third place, they will face either the US, Turkey, Paraguay, or Australia. All beatable opponents. If so, what that usually
Yes.
when you finish in third, you're going to face a Spain, Brazil, Argentina. Canada is going to face the US, Australia, Paraguay, or Turkey. They can beat any of those. So Canada is very lucky with that. The United States, if you top your group, you face Canada. I would say I'll take it. Like out of the opponents we can face, this is someone we match up 50-50, an opponent we also know, I'll take it. And if you advance, you're going to play Belgium, Saudi Arabia, or Uruguay. All beatable opponents right there. Now, the quarterfinals, I think unless there's like some insane upset, that's where the road ends. They're going to play probably Spain. Croatia or Colombia have a shot, but most likely Spain. And I would say US or Canada, if they play Spain, 100 times, they'll probably win one. 100.
And if they play Colombia 100 times, they'll win 4.
Yeah, same with Croatia. Even though this Croatian many don't respect it as much, it's still a very tough team, and they know how to win these games.
Maybe you take it because they're so penalty shootout dependent that you say, hey, we go to Pens. Let's practice in the couple days leading up to the game. Maybe we can take them down. I think you take Croatia of those 3 teams.
Yeah, I just don't think Croatia knocks out Colombia and Spain. They can knock out one. I don't think they do two.
And if they do, statues for every single player in
Yes.
Zagreb.
Yes.
Isaac will have to pay hard-earned money to help get those built. And he wouldn't complain either.
One thing I want to do here is we had Turkey finishing in 3rd place. So I wanted to see, I think it's pathway 2. I'm going to go to pathway 2 just to see if the U.S. finished in 3rd, who would they face? We'll check that in a sec. But let's check Mexico real quick. So Mexico's bracket, okay? Mexico in this scenario would play Scotland. Could also be Brazil and Morocco. I don't think Brazil will finish in 3rd place, but it could also be Morocco. But Scotland finishing in 3rd is not too crazy in that group. Seems fairly reasonable. And if Mexico defeats Scotland, I believe that game of the round 32 would still be in Mexico. It's the next round that goes all to the United States. So they would play Scotland in Mexico. I would say since Mexico's playing at home and they got out of the group, so the fans will very likely be supporting the team and excited, I think it's 50-50. I think Mexico, out of the opponents they could play, this is fine. Like, they can go through. Anything?
Yeah, against a team with what is Scotland's World Cup legacy? I mean,
failure.
Yeah, they haven't done very well. So, and they're kind of another team where not quite the Australia model. That's not what I'm saying, but playing as a unit as opposed to having like individual stars. And if you're Mexico, do you want the star-studded, God forbid we get Brazil here, or do you want Scotland, where it's going to be tough, it's going to be physical, they have a good midfield, it's going to be tough for Mexico to establish possession, but it's a winnable game? You're going to take Scotland. You have to take Scotland. I mean, I'm signing this contract right now. If Infantino emailed this to me, the script, and it said Mexico, Scotland, I'm signing it.
Okay. I'll say every Mexico fan should take it. It's not an easy matchup. There's no easy matchups in the knockout rounds. I'm sorry, guys. There is none. So you have to take those that you can beat. Now, round of 16 for Mexico, very likely England. I don't see England getting knocked out by Uzbekistan. So I think England is one of those, just like we talked about US and Canada versus Spain. I think if Mexico plays England in the knockout rounds 100 times, maybe Mexico wins 2. I don't see it. It would be a historical upset. Like, it would be historical. And it would automatically become the best World Cup in Mexico's history if they beat England in the round of 16. Because if they do that, they're very likely going to be playing Brazil, Netherlands, or Senegal in the quarterfinals. Very likely. And right now, those 3 opponents are worse than England. So if Mexico beats England in the round of 16, if they can do that, they have a shot on making it to the semis. Now, it's unlikely that they would be able to defeat England and defeat another powerhouse right after. But I think the end of the road for Mexico there is round of 16. And that's with Mexico topping the group.
I'm glad you brought that up. There's actually an argument. I was looking at what the potential pathway would be for us if we finished as the runner-up. And there's actually an argument that might be more beneficial because we would play the runner-up in the round of 32 of Canada's group.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to do that then. Let me switch that for you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Rather than me just say every single possibility, we should...
let's just say they tie the first game with South Africa.
Yeah, that should change it for us. And South Africa should go above on GD, right?
So I just
they should go above on GD.
Let's just see what it looks like. If they tie South Africa in the opening game, I don't know why it's so laggy. Like, I changed it.
It might be the screen.
Yeah, so I changed it. Ended up okay. Mexico in second now. That's what you want.
All right.
Let's also do one thing. Let's change the US as well, just to see. Let's say the US ties Australia. So now the US does not go through in first place anymore, right? If the US ties Australia, they're gonna go through in... Where would the US go through if they tie
third place, right?
Yes. Should we have the US going in second?
Oh my gosh, you're actually eliminated.
Yeah, because 3 points. See how crazy it is? One
Yeah,
draw.
it's
That's
one
why I
draw.
said. That's why I said the U.S. is more likely to get grouped instead
Yeah,
of
that's
Canada.
tough.
It's crazy. So let me have the U.S. maybe, I don't know.
You're gonna have to like make Scotland score like 1 goal
No,
or
I'm just gonna have
lose to
Paraguay
Morocco.
win, and I'll have the U.S. I'll have the U.S.
Well, I
defeat
think
Australia.
you can just
I
make
just want the
Morocco
U.S.
beat
to advance in
Scotland 2 to
second.
1.
I just want the U.S. to
Oh,
advance
you
in
want it
second.
specifically in second. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
just to
gotcha.
see what it looks like in the brackets. So that should do. No, wait. The
I
U.S.
don't
has
think it updated.
it hasn't
Yeah,
updated for some.
it hasn't updated yet. It's
Okay,
just
but
taking its time.
yeah, the Mexico did update. Mexico's in second. The U.S. won 1-0 here.
You should be on.
Okay, now it
There we
updated.
go.
So
There we go.
now
There
we
we go.
have the U.S. in second, and we have also Mexico in second. So let's look
Okay.
at what. So U.S. Oh boy, against Iran. Very quickly, if the U.S. finishes in second, they would play Iran, which when it comes to Iran and the U.S., I would say the U.S. even has a slight advantage. So their
Yes.
odds of advancing to the round of 16 increase, but they would probably play Argentina, and Argentina is a different beast compared to Belgium. So if the U.S. goes in second, the odds of round of 16 increase. The odds of of quarterfinals, they tank hard, like very hard.
Hard. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
put it
This
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 way.
would be the greatest USA performance of all time if they defeated Argentina in the
Exactly.
round of 16.
So if the US finishes second, they have higher odds of making to the round 16, but their odds to go to the quarterfinals fucking deteriorate. They
Yep.
tank. Now Mexico. Let's see Mexico. Because
Let's see where we are.
Mexico
You should,
now. Okay, it got a little bit better. They would face UEFA qualifying one, which I don't know exactly which one it is. Regardless,
I
those
believe
would that be Italy?
that's Italy, I believe. Yes, because it's the runner-up of Canada's group. So it's either Switzerland, Italy, or Canada. Obviously, it's not Switzerland or Canada, so I believe this is Italy.
I'll tell you right now who it is. Just double checking. It's Italy, correct. I'll
Okay.
say this: this version of Italy, I think Mexico can pull it off. It's a tough one, but they can pull it off at home.
And look who is in the round of 16. Japan or Morocco.
Better
Now,
than facing England.
I will fully concede that these two teams are stronger than Mexico, but due to play style as well, Morocco chance creation wasn't very great at the AFCON, especially against the elite teams. Like when they played in Nigeria or when they played a Senegal, even when they played Mali in the group stage, they weren't able to create a ton of good chances. They kind of like, I don't want to bring up referees, but like they got a penalty in some of these games to kind of get on the scoreboard. They didn't get a penalty against Nigeria. Let me not bring. I shouldn't have brought up the ref. Forget I said anything. The offense is
I'm going to get a
okay. It's the
lawsuit
weak.
because of I'm going to get a lawsuit.
You are, yes, and this will be demonetized, and my channel will be terminated for hate speech by association. The offense of Morocco is the worst part of the team. El Kabi at striker, Abde from Real Betis left wing, Brahim Diaz right wing. It is not a high goal scoring team. They're very tactically sound. Defensively, they really impressed me at the AFCON. But it is not impossible. Mexico just says, okay, come break us down, and Morocco can't. Because we have Cesar Montes, we have Johan Vasquez. We're very good at defending like crosses and stuff, which is what Morocco's offense kind of defaults into. I think Mexico could at least take it to extra time, and then who knows what happens. And Japan, the thing with Japan is Moriyasu's the manager, and they have a massive mental block of never getting to the quarterfinals.
They
I
don't
mean, it's
believe
like
they
the
can
quinto
make it. That's
partido
the
for.
problem. They don't believe they
That's the
can make it.
problem. Yes, it's the quinto partido curse, but in Japanese. That's basically what it is.
How do you
Losing on
say that in
penalties to
Japanese?
Paraguay.
How do you say that in Japanese?
That's the first thing I'm going to learn after we're done recording here.
The quinto partido in Japanese. If you're Japanese, teach
Quinto
us how to
partido in
say it.
Japanese.
Yeah. I
And
want to know.
try to drop the obviously that you put the Japanese characters. That's not going to help Filippo and I pronounce it out loud. Can we get the American letters of how to say it, and then I will learn it. That's a real thing. So in Japan, don't play very well against Mexico. I can't even explain it to you, dude. I just think Mexico we're kind of like thugs and bullies when we go up against Japan, and they don't like it. So, and maybe Morocco is going to do that, and Japan won't like it either. My point is, while the round of 32 is harder, the round of 16 is easier. And then we're looking at a France or a Germany. And I mean, even if the Germans pulled off an upset, is it inconceivable Mexico would beat Germany? Probably
More
8
likely
to
than England.
10% chance.
More likely than
More
England.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll call it 10% chance of Mexican advancement. I would take that, though, over like guaranteed L in round of 16.
Yeah, it's interesting how the US and Mexico essentially flips once they drop to second place. Like the US
Yes.
has a harder round of 32 when they're finishing first and an easier round of 16. Again, I want to use my words carefully. When I'm saying easier, I'm not saying we're the favorites. I'm not even saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's, I guess, less hard will be the way for
More
people not to.
manageable, yeah.
Yeah,
I
more
mean,
manageable.
we're not saying that these are layup games for any of the CONCACAF teams. They could all lose in the round of 32, and we're making a recap video with tears in our eyes. I
Well,
don't know.
just to make
It's
it
possible.
clear, all these matchups that we're saying that are manageable in the round of 16, all the CONCACAF teams are not the favorites. Belgium,
Yes,
Japan, Morocco, they're not the favorites. So whether it's the
correct.
US, Canada, or Mexico, they once we hit the round of 16, they're no longer the favorites. So what we're looking at is what Jack was saying, the most manageable ones that you're like, hey, we have a shot, right? Like if you're Mexico against Germany, you're like, there's a slight shot. Against France, we're screwed. Like, let's just say
Mhm.
bye. It's over.
You
Uh,
can make the argument. You can make the argument for the CONCACAF team winning. You know, like, oh, we beat Mexico, we beat Germany 2018. You know, you can start seeing if it's an England, then or if it's an Argentina for the USA, you're like, maybe the Holy Spirit infuses with the players and they play out of their mind. Could we do one more thing with the
yeah.
screen up? Could you move Canada to second? I'm curious
They'll
if
play
that does anything
Mexico.
for them.
They'll play Mexico.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Oh,
They'll replace Italy. Yeah.
so they need to win for like a substantial change. Where is Switzerland on this? We can just
Yeah.
visualize that Canada would switch
Switzerland
with
would be
them.
first. Switzerland is on the other side of the bracket. So let's see. Switzerland would be
Switzerland.
here. Oh, Ivory Coast?
Dang, that's not any better. No,
No.
Canada might actually want to finish third. I'm not kidding. I mean, that is really tough.
No. Like,
Actually,
it's crazy how the Canadian group finishing in third place is the best scenario.
it. Oh my God, it's actually the best scenario. Which Canadians might be mad, but it's kind of true. Now, of course, you want to go out and win, and I think they will love to play the States, and I'm picking them to beat the States if that is the game. Um,
Also, Jack, the US, if they finish in third, if I'm not mistaken, theirs is the UEFA qualifier 3. So if the US finishes in third, they would probably play Germany. And then after Germany, you have France. So if the US finishes in third, just give up on the World Cup.
that Germany game would go so hard. I actually
It-
think the States would fight like hell, but yeah, now you're looking at the Doom team in round of 16. There's two scenarios where the USA has either France or Spain in round of 16, and it's just yeah, miracles happen.
I,
That's the argument.
I
Miracles
think the
happen.
conclusion we've gotten here is the US has to top their group, the US. Canada finish in third. That's the best scenario for Canada. And Mexico, actually, second place is the best scenario.
Yeah, it's the best scenario.
Which, just to make one thing clear, at the end of the day, this was a simulation based on everything in the other groups happening the way we expect it. So
Correct.
the World Cup always has plot twists, so it's not going to be exactly like that. But very likely, a lot of the matchups we showed you, decent odds of happening. And just to
Mhm.
close, Canada least likely to get grouped. Mexico most likely, US in between with some odds. We saw it right there, right? One draw with
Yeah.
Australia, the US was out, right?
Yeah.
In that scenario. In terms of going the furthest, I would say as long as the US tops their group and Canada finishes third, those two have the highest odds of going the furthest. Mexico, very likely round of 16 is looking like the end for them, the most likely
Yeah.
scenario. While US and Canada, if they can finish first or third, they can hit a quarterfinals, and then Spain would just be unfortunate at that point. Anything
Yeah.
else before we go? Actually, I have a question for you. Is Jamaica going to qualify for the World Cup?
Hmm. Are they going to qualify for the World Cup? I think that would. No, I don't. I don't think that they will.
I told you guys
I
he's
don't
a
think they will.
Jamaica hater.
I could give an explanation that's not even. No, I don't. I wish them the best in the Intercontinental Playoff, but that team's got problems, man. They let Curacao directly qualify.
I
With all
agree.
due respect.
I agree. So I got nothing to counter that. I love the Jamaican national team, and I would love to see them in the World Cup for the vibes, but I'm just not seeing it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drop a like. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and subscribe to Deadball TV. That's where you're going to find all of Jack's content. He covers a lot of international soccer, international football. So if you like national team coverage, that is one of the channels that I would recommend, with a much more broad approach than mine. I focus mainly in the US. You're going to see him even covering some very obscure games. And I
Those are
know
my
you want
favorite.
to talk. Yeah, you probably shouldn't watch some of those games. But anyhow, thank you very much again, Jack.
Yeah, thanks for having me.